You're watching VinylicPumaGaming. Something that you may or may not have realized is that Borderlands 2 only has about 25 or so unique, legendary, and serif shields throughout the entire game. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like there are a lot more than that, especially when it comes to shields that have red text. Regardless, I figured I would go over some of the best shields that Borderlands 2 has to offer, so without further ado, these will be the top 10 best shields in Borderlands 2. Number 10, the Blockade. Now don't get me wrong here, the Blockade is a fairly decent shield if you're looking for some good damage reduction. However, the problem is that it just doesn't really do a whole lot else. According to the Borderlands wiki, the Blockade's special effect is currently bugged, as it simply provides a flat damage resistance for your character. What it's normally supposed to do is provide major damage resistance when fully charged. However, once the charge is lost, it's supposed to act like a normal shield does and provides no additional damage resistance. When you start to compare the Blockade with something like the Antagonist, you kind of wonder whether the Blockade is worth the effort to acquire. Of all of the shields that appear on this list, the Blockade is by far the most difficult shield to acquire, as you have to beat the Dragons of Destruction from the Tiny Tina's Dragon Keep DLC. Overall, it's a good shield, but it's really more of a collector's item if you ask me. If you can't go after every single shield on this list, you're probably okay to skip on this one. Number 9, the Big Boom Blaster. The Big Boom Blaster is a criminally overlooked shield that's available to players that have Borderlands 2's Campaign of Carnage DLC. The blaster is based off of the booster shields that you occasionally see from Doll. Booster shields typically restore 25% of your shield, provided you pick up the shield booster. As you might guess, this can be quite useful in combat if you want your shields to recharge faster than they normally would. In addition to restoring a portion of the player's shield, the Big Boom Blaster's boosters will also restore both one grenade and one rocket every time you pick one of them up. As you can imagine, this is extremely useful as both grenades and rocket ammo are typically very expensive, especially once you hit Ultimate Vault Hunter mode and beyond. I really like to use this with the Fastball and the Bada Boom, as you can easily recover the grenades and rockets that you're going to be using during a long fight. You may ultimately find better ways to get free rockets though, especially if you're opt for using a rocket launcher with high ammo consumption, so something like a Norfleet. However, to get a Big Boom Blaster, you will need to defeat Pyro Pete. While that's not the easiest thing in the world, Pete is definitely one of the easier raid bosses, and it shouldn't cause you too much trouble. Number 8, the Rough Rider. The Rough Rider is a really strange shield. Unlike the vast majority of the shields in the game, the Rough Rider will always have a shield capacity of 0. To help counterbalance the non-existent shield capacity, you get 20% damage resistance and an increase to your maximum health. What you will ultimately find is that the Rough Rider's usefulness will greatly depend on the character that you decide to play as. While all of the characters except for Gage have skills that incorporate depleted shields, some characters have too many skills that are rendered useless. In my opinion, Maya and Salvador benefit the most from using the Rough Rider. Maya has the Fleet skill, which greatly increases her movement speed, while Salvador has Out of Bubblegum and Inconceivable, both of which work very well with the Rough Rider. In my opinion, Zero and Krieg are better off with Void Shields, as they are more melee-oriented anyway. Axton and Gage, on the other hand, take a major hit, as Axton has a lot of skills that help with shield recharge, and Gage has other skills like Myelin and Blood-Soaked Shields, which also become significantly weaker or useless while using the Rough Rider. If you want one, kill the Bulwark in Hunter's Grotto from the Hammerlock Big Game Hunt DLC. Number 7. The Fabled Tortoise / Hoplite. So both the Fabled Tortoise and Hoplite are pretty similar, as both are turtle shields. The differences are that the Fabled Tortoise doesn't require any DLC, and you incur a movement penalty when the shield is charged. However, that's removed once the shield is depleted. The Hoplite, on the other hand, has a higher capacity with no movement penalty, but you take a more significant penalty to your maximum health while the shield is equipped. It's also worth mentioning, for every person in your party that has a Hoplite equipped, you get 20% additional shield capacity to your own Hoplite. Both of these shields are the best turtle shields on offer in Borderlands 2 and are great for certain characters. In my opinion, Gage's Blood-Soaked Shield skill works extremely well with either the Hoplite or Fabled Tortoise, as you can recharge a significant portion of your shield upon getting a kill. Otherwise, you might have some luck with characters like Zero, who are normally really squishy. Some people like to play Sniper Zero with stacks of Critical Ascension and a Hoplite for a good combination of both survivability and damage output. You can get the Fabled Tortoise from Blue and Caustic Caverns, while you can get the Hoplite to drop from Pyro Pete, or you can occasionally buy it from the Seraph vendor in Torg's Campaign of Carnage DLC. Number 6. The Flame of the Firehawk. Usually, the Flame of the Firehawk is the first legendary shield most players encounter while playing through the game. While it doesn't deal the highest Nova damage of all of the elemental Nova shields in Borderlands 2, the Firehawk shield does have an ace up its sleeve, so to speak. As long as your shield is depleted, it will continue to emit Novas. That said, if the shield replenishes at all, it will need to fully recharge in order for the effect to work again. While this shield is pretty decent on all characters, I would say it's best on Krieg in particular. Krieg has several different skills that allow the player to increase shield recharge delay, which increases the amount of time your Novas can keep firing. Since it's a Fire Nova shield too, it's also a great way to trigger Krieg's burn status effect, which also allows him to take reduced damage, he can heal faster, and you also gain access to several other very useful abilities, depending on how you've allocated your skill points. The best part is the Firehawk shield only requires that you complete the Enkindling side quest mission located in Frostburn Canyon in order to get it. Number 5. The Love Thumper. So between both of the Roid shields on this list, the Love Thumper is the easiest to use. While it doesn't provide the highest possible Roid damage, the Roid damage is fairly high among other Roid shields that you can acquire throughout the game. The Thumper's biggest advantage is its ridiculously high shield recharge delay. Since Roid damage is only active while the shield is depleted, the high recharge delay allows you to take your time and find the perfect angle to melee attack enemies. You won't need anywhere near as much planning or anticipation to deal the maximum amount of melee damage with the Love Thumper. The only real problem with the Love Thumper is that you can deal damage to your friends with the explosive Nova that the shield emits while you're meleeing. This can be a problem if you're playing co-op with other people, as you can constantly put them in fight for your life without actually intending to do so. The Love Thumper is acquired through the best Mother's Day ever side quest mission that is available in the Highlands. Number 4. The Hide of Terramorphous. The Hide of Terramorphous is a combination of a Nova shield, Spike shield, and Roid shield. Of the 3 different shield types that are incorporated here, the Roid shield effects are the most prominent and effective at higher levels. The Hide of Terramorphous is the strongest Roid shield in Borderlands 2 in terms of raw Roid damage, beating out both the Order shield and the Love Thumper shield. Provided you're skilled enough, you will get more melee damage out of this shield than any other Roid shield in the game. However, it's a little more difficult to use than the Love Thumper. The Hide is really good for melee characters. Krieg can also benefit from both the Fire Nova and Fire Spike damage, as both of these will work well with his Hellborn tree, provided the player has proper skill point investment. Like the Love Thumper, you may even find that the Hide works fairly well with Gage, and her Death Trap's sharing is caring ability. If you want the Hide of Terramorphous, you will need to kill Terramorphous in Terramorphous Peak near Thousand Cuts. Number 3. The Sham. The Sham is Borderlands 2's best absorption shield. Normally, absorption shields absorb and replenish bullets that are fired at the player. You can absorb any conventional projectile type, as long as it's pistol, shotgun, assault rifle, SMG, rocket launcher, or even sniper rifle ammo. That said, you can't absorb things like grenade blasts to receive extra grenades. The reason the Sham is the best absorption shield is because of its ridiculously high absorb chance. The lowest possible absorb chance for the Sham is 76%, with the highest being 94%. And to give you some idea, this absolutely dwarfs all of the other absorption shields in the game, both from the vanilla and its DLC. The trade-off, though, is that you have very low shield capacity, and this can become a problem when you're fighting enemies with melee or non-bullet-based attacks, as these types of attacks will deal damage directly to your shield capacity. Overall, the Sham is definitely a must-have shield, and is highly recommended if you're going to have a lot of bullets flying at you. If you want one, you can get a Sham from the bunker, at the bunker, located near 1,000 Cuts. Number 2, the Bee. As the Sham is to absorption shields, the Bee shield is Borderlands 2's best amplified damage shield. Amplified shields allow the player to deal enhanced damage provided the shield is fully charged. However, in most cases, the enhanced damage shot depletes the shield, so you don't get the enhanced damage until you fully recharge your shield. And the standard Amplify shield was designed and originally intended for sniper classes and builds. The idea being to maximize the damage of your first shot as you enter a fight with some mob enemies. The Bee is different, however. Not only are you getting the best amplified damage of any amp shield, but there is no shield depletion penalty. So really, as long as your shield doesn't deplete from an enemy attack or something else, you will always be dealing the maximum amount of amplified damage. For this reason, the Bee shield works really well with not only sniper rifles, but also other single projectile weapons like most SMGs, pistols, and assault rifles. Just avoid using the Bee with launchers and shotguns. The Bee is heralded by quite a number of the community as Borderlands 2's best shield, especially for more offensive playstyles. If you do want one, try looting Hunter Hellquist in the Arid Nexus Boneyard, or try your luck with the Treants in the forest location of the Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragonkeep DLC. Number 1, the Antagonist. This is just a really great shield that isn't like many of the other shields in the game. This is because it doesn't fit within a specific category of shield types. The Antagonist has several different abilities. It provides damage reduction, it deflects enemy bullets back at attackers with increased damage, and it occasionally launches slag homing balls at attackers too. It's also worth mentioning that when compared to other popular endgame shields like the Bee or the Sham, the Antagonist has relatively high capacity as well. For most characters and most builds, the Antagonist is perfect. It can take a decent amount of hits, and the special abilities are really useful for slagging and otherwise dealing additional damage to enemies. My favorite ability of the Antagonist is the homing balls of slag it emits, as they can be really useful as an alternative way to slag enemies. It's nice to have a shield that seemingly does all of the work for you too. The best part about the Antagonist is it's really easy to acquire provided you have the Seraph crystals. All you need to do is buy one from the Seraph vendor in Flamerock Refuge. Alright guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.